not posts, but
Memes?
groups.
Okay,
No, groups,
Okay.
which I shouldn't be in. Possibly the greatest starting lineup of all time in Major League Baseball.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sure that we could argue some Yankee lineups, but
Sure.
this is just what was posted. Possibly the greatest starting lineup of all time was the Big Red Machine of Cincinnati in the mid 1970s. The lineup was intact for only 87 games. The record with all 8 starters, 69 and 18.
Okay.
Listen to this lineup and tell me, where did I lose my mind?
Okay.
Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose, Dave Concepcion, George Foster, Cesar Gerónimo, and Ken Griffey's dad.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. Ken Griffey's dad was amazing.
Ken Griffey's dad was an all-star.
Yeah.
His name, by the way, was Ken Griffey.
Senior. Ken Griffey's senior.
But to say Ken Griffey's dad is like you. This would be something you would do.
Are you born? So when he played before Junior was born, was it just Ken Griffey? And then when he had a son, he named it. Then he got the senior.
Are you an idiot all the time? Oh my!
Just trying to keep up with the stats.
You know, no, you're just trying.
And why is he wearing a Cincinnati Red hat?
How about that?
Like, where'd you go to Skyline for lunch?
Look at that lineup. Now, granted, you don't know who a couple of these players are, and I understand.
No, I know Johnny Bench, and I know who's the other one?
Okay, do me a favor. Listen to what I just said.
Okay.
You don't know some of these names,
Okay.
and I get that.
Got it.
But for anybody that watched this team, Dave Concepcion.
Yeah, Geraldo Rivera. Like, he was amazing.
What?
What's his name? Geraldo?
Cesar Gerónimo.
There you go.
George Foster. You know the George Foster story, right?
I don't know.
You don't. George Foster was the outfielder who I dissed when I ran into him at a charity event because of what he did to my little brother.
What did he do to your brother?
So I'm bat boy for the Cardinals.
Oh, boy.
We're playing it's a rain out. I think it was called Perkins, which is on the south side in St. Pete. They were doing work at Al Lang,
Okay.
and it's a rain out. So all the players, again, they're slip sliding and doing all sorts of stuff. So I got my brother out on the field, and my brother went up to Joe Morgan and said, "Mr. Morgan, could I have your autograph, please?" And George Foster lost his mind and had him thrown off the field.
Really?
Because it was George Foster. It wasn't Joe Morgan. So he asked and today, I get it, because so many people go and get these autographs and sell them, and the dad, hey, go get that guy's. But this was before autographs were huge.
Yeah, and as a kid.
And my brother could care less then or now about autographs because of that.
Wow.
I've introduced it. He goes, I don't care. Now he has some stuff that he's purchased in the castle and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like these fans that are out at training camps, spring trainings, and whatever. But what we ought to do. Now we're not going to spend.
No, let's
time.
do it. Let's do it.
No. I'm saying we ought to take the New York Yankee legend team
Oh, yeah.
and put those two together, because I would be curious. That Reds team was unstoppable.
Does Don Mattingly make your Yankee all-time team?
I don't know, probably,
All right.
but it's not the all-time team. You chuckle. That was a team.
Wow.
It's not like Little League where you put your best all-stars together and say, now go in and represent the country that you automatically have an entrance into. Because I still hate that.
Really?
I do.
For the Olympics to like
No.
represent?
The Little League World Series, an American team is guaranteed to be in the finals.
Oh.
And I think they should have to work their way in and make the finals, whether you do 2 different brackets or however you do it, not one bracket Americans, the other bracket everybody else. So a USA team is guaranteed to at least have the losers ring. The AFC, NFC
That's
championship
fair.
ring. But it shouldn't be. If you're ultimately doing a World Series and you're including all these countries from all over the world, they should have to earn their way in just like anybody else. Because even a squirrel finds a nut once in a while and the American
Yeah.
team wins. Because they're there.
Every once in a while, a leg kick connects and you become world champ.
That's true.
So,
right, so
but you got to compete for Jamaica or for London.
Hold on a second. Is
UK.
he the world champ? Because according to you, he's not.
Well, you have to win it, defend it. You have to defend it.
So he's not a world champion to you.
No. And when Kamaru comes back and wins his belt back, then he's a true champion.
Who is?
Kamaru.
Why?
Because when he wins his belt back, then it makes him a true
Oh,
champion.
that is too.
That's the way it works. Yeah, you're not, because even a loser will keep going when they're winning, but to get knocked down, to get knocked out, and then to come back and reclaim your title.
Hold on. Even a loser will keep going when he's not winning.
No, even a loser will keep going when they're winning, because like they have nothing to lose, right? Like they're a loser. They keep winning, so they keep it going. But when they get knocked down, then they have to face adversity. Then they have to come back, and then they have to regain their championship. That makes you a true champion.
I truly believe you are going to see a different Usman.
Yeah, no more smiles, no more.
You know, and I know, and people joke, you know, and they rip me when I bring up, you know, back when I was in the competitive softball world and whatever. Like, we would go 2 years without a loss. We would literally go out there and just go through the motions.
Right.
You know, we knew nobody could beat us until we got beat.
And
Then it rejuvenated, and now we're out there, and that's what's going to happen, I think.
And at that level, when you're the champ, everybody knows you got media commitments, you have so many distractions, you have so many things that you have to do in order to fulfill the title of welterweight. And then the disrespect. Talk about disrespect. Like how everybody's talking about the greatest welterweight conversations over now, or GSP versus Usman. What about Matt Hughes, the greatest welterweight of all time? Can we not give Matt Hughes some love?
I do find what you just said, and I think I mentioned it in the first hour, that now all of a sudden GSP is back in the GOAT, which he isn't and never has been. But George St. Pierre got beat by Matt Serra.
Right.
Okay? And Matt Serra, I know, is going to punch me in the face when he sees me. I'm not ripping him. Leon Edwards is ranked 2. Matt Serra was not. It's not even close. And for the out of nowhere, people should be more shocked still. Of course, people are too young to remember it. That I remember vividly. I was in the hotel with GSP's people, and they were worried. They told me that he didn't train for this fight, allegedly.
Like Luke Rockwell, allegedly.
Well, at least George was in shape.
Right, condition.
You know, he didn't eat 2 pies, pepperoni pizzas on the way to
leave
the
the
octagon.
pizza out of this, okay?
It's not their fault.
Hey, leave this.
It's
leave
not
the
the
pizza
pizza's fault.
What the hell's wrong with you?
But to compare the two, Matt Serra beating GSP is a bigger upset. It is the biggest upset, in my opinion, in the history of the UFC.
But I do got to say the best thing about Matt Serra is seeing Matt Serra in the corners, like seeing Frank Trigg refereeing.
No, it's that guy.
Seeing
Frank Trigg is that guy.
Seeing that guy in the refereeing. Seeing Forrest Griffin, you know, at the contenders table. It's nice to see. It's nice to see the legendary figures that like pioneered the sport and made the sport what it is. Nice to see their faces and their voices still.
Well, there's
part
still
of
a
it.
lot of them. Krause, you know, out there in Kansas City.
James Krause.
I mean, there's a lot of guys. Mike Brown, but I love how Joanna calls him Mikey.
Yeah.
Mikey Brown down there in Coral Gables. I mean, there's a lot of guys. You know, Dean Thomas for a long time. I think he's
Dean.
still doing some
Yeah,
stuff.
he was commentating this week.
Eve Edwards, you know, who I think is now back in Houston, you know, doing some training and stuff. Locally, you know, Rob Kahn, Matt Arroyo, and locally everywhere, wherever you are. You know, there's a lot of former fighters and active fighters that are still training people.
Yeah.
David Bybee, you know, who's taking his son to the Olympics, you know, who trains Team USA. So that's everywhere.
Sure.
I don't know why you're throwing so much love to those 3.
I like those guys. Like, you know, Militich and all those guys, like the old pioneer guys, like, you know, it's great to see them around.
Well, I've talked to them all, and they don't really care to see you.
That's not true.
It is.
They don't
Oh,
even-
I've told them everything about you.
Oh, well, they could probably hear my comments on the radio.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, to compare the two, GSP is not the greatest welterweight of all time. If you want to add, you know, because people were arguing, well, he's the greatest fighter. He could be the greatest fighter. He could be, because he won belts in 2 divisions. But he's not the greatest welterweight, in my opinion.
Yeah, John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time.
I hope this rumor is true that's floating around.
He's coming back.
Well, the rumor, and I'm booked for New York.
What?
That's the rumor.
November 12th?
It's the rumor.
Madison Square Garden?
It's the rumor.
Wow,
And they're loading this card up.
Yeah?
Carla's on it, defending her title. Okay. Israel's on it.
Okay.
They just announced Poirier versus Michael Chandler.
Okay.
And there is a rumor that John Jones, Stipe Miocic,
Oh,
for the wannabe belt.
okay.
If that's true,
It's exciting.
that is. I mean, this is where he puts that stamp on.
The greatest of all time.
Now, let me clarify something. John Jones is the greatest of all time right now,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Okay.
Doesn't mean he's the greatest of all time tomorrow,
Right.
okay? If he fights for the heavyweight title against
Nagano.
Stipe,
Right.
the interim fake belt,
Right.
or Nagano, and wins, that just solidifies. But that doesn't mean that he's the GOAT for the rest of eternity. Another GOAT can come along. There's been other
They
GOATs.
say Bo Nickel's going to be the next GOAT.
Yeah, Bo needs to get into the UFC first. Just saying.
You're so caught up in these technicalities.
Yeah.
I am still an undefeated UFC fighter. So how come I'm not in the GOAT conversation?
Technically, you just lied on the radio.
Why?
What did you just say?
I'm an undefeated UFC fighter.
Exactly, you lied.
I've never lost.
You're not a UFC fighter.
Well, I've never fought in. I've never been in it. I've never been around it. Barely know people doing it.
But that's why you can't say if you were to say you're an undefeated MMA fighter,
Okay, yeah, that's it. I'm one of those two.
You can do that.
And undefeated boxer. And but you know what? I wish I wasn't.
a moron.
Well, an undefeated. You know who Martin Gramatica is? He is not an undefeated guy who kicked out the first pitch of a game with a soccer ball
Well, no,
at the Rays game.
he kicked the ball into the stands.
Did you see that?
I did see it, and we will talk about that with him here at Tournament de Pizza next week.
Oh, what? Dude, Automatica coming through.
Automatica was going to come today, but he had to do some other stuff for the game this weekend. So Automatica will be at Tournament de Pizza next Wednesday.
That's sweet.
We're going to hang out for a long time, talk about a whole bunch
Can
of
I get
stuff.
a kickball? I can have him autograph it.
You can do this. Shut up. This is Knockout Radio, brought to you by 8 Man Strong and Staff Zone. We'll be right back.